So when they see you going even one step towards Islam, they think, oh, step 2 is going to be, he or she's going to be in a cult.
Yeah.
And they're just going to cut us off and all of that. Those people couldn't get a real job. That's why they have that job.
Yeah.
So I sure as hell don't want my kids going down that path.
I've been talking to my dad like
Do you remember the first customer that asked us about the wine?
no.
She walked in.
He was the most devout Christian I've ever met in my life. And to the point where I became a better Muslim because of him.
Because of him. That's so incredible. Assalamu alaikum, Anas.
Assalamu alaikum.
Abu Bakr. Very nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Alhamdulillah.
Welcome to our restaurant. I hope you had a safe flight down and you're enjoying it so far.
I'm liking this place. Loza. What was behind the name? Why'd you guys name it this?
So basically, me and him went to college together. We did computer science. And it was about time we started fine dining or like European style
Makes
cuisine.
total sense. Computer science. Why fine dining? Yeah.
Because we had nothing here for that. So basically in Ireland, we're so behind in terms of like the food industry that everything here is like kebabs. So if you wanted to take your mom or your wife out for a dinner, your choices are very limited.
Or Indian cuisine.
Or Indian cuisine. So when we started this, we're like, let's try and do European food, Italian, French, even American food, and make it halal, you know, so give everyone the option to have the same experience as everyone else.
Yeah.
The name Loza came from, basically that was a nickname that I grew up with. It's because I was a bit pale in skin, and Loza means almond in Arabic. So just tied it into
That's
it.
Had a good ring to it as well.
And it was easy for me.
cool ring to it.
It has a cool ring to it. And yeah, it worked out in the end. So people,
So you both been in Ireland your whole lives?
I was born here.
yeah.
And
I came here when I was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
I was born in
So
Germany.
practically you've been
Yeah,
raised here.
pretty much. Yeah.
And like, so your family came here when you were 4.
Yeah, I was still a kid.
So you're both essentially kind of brought up in two cultures. Obviously, you're part of the larger society.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, it's like we're living in two different worlds. We have our own heritage, our own culture, but we're being brought up in Ireland that has its own identity, its own culture.
yeah.
And for me, I went to a boarding school, so it was
Interesting.
It's very different for me. I went to a very, Christian boarding school, and when I'd be home on the weekends, I have a very traditional Punjabi, Pakistani family household. You know,
Where in Pakistan you family from?
Lahore. My mom's from Lahore. My dad's from Gujarat. I'm pretty sure it's both in Punjab. I'm not the best when it comes to Pakistani geography,
That's okay.
but I do have a connection with the culture, with the people, with So yeah,
So Catholic school, huh? They make you do the prayers and stuff, don't they?
yeah.
God.
They initially tried to force me to go to mass, but I was a bit rebellious as a kid, so they'd be chasing after me to go into mass because I was in boarding, so there was no way to run. So eventually they'd stop chasing and they'd leave me alone. But I did go out of curiosity when I was a kid. I didn't know much about religion, so I was interested in religion from early on,
Yeah.
and I did want to see what does go on in mass, and what's the little bread that they eat,
Yeah.
and So I did observe it from afar. I
Yeah.
never partook in it, but it was interesting. But then eventually I'd stop.
I remember going to church when I was in kindergarten in Germany,
Right.
being taken by the school and
Yeah.
yeah. What about your upbringing?
Oh, I don't think it's that interesting. So mine, I think I was fully immersed in the Irish culture. I went to a brother, like Christian brother school. And so it was like an all boys school. And we literally had priests as your teacher. So, like they'll teach you history and, so I took the classes, like religion classes and stuff like that, because I was the only Muslim in the whole school.
Right.
The thing is with Ireland, like when we were coming up, is you were kind of like the first. So it's not like there was like Muslims around you that they even were.
So unlike England, where there's like second,
No.
third, fourth
Yeah.
generation even.
Yeah.
Here's you were
No.
kind of
Oh,
like the
yeah.
first generation.
You're left
coming
on
up.
your own.
Yeah, so you're like kind of like the introduction to it. So like even people be like, for them as well, it's a culture shock.
Yeah.
Not even just for you.
So how were you like growing up? What do you remember thinking about Islam? Like, how did you perceive it? It's just something my parents do. Is that what it was like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know for you.
Yeah.
For me, it was like something that I had to do more research on because I knew that the rules were there, but no one ever explained to me why they were there. No one
Right.
explained to me what is Islam. Why is it that I'm in a Christian school right now? I'm in boarding school. Who's to say they're right and I'm wrong? Or so I really did have to investigate all this stuff early on. I did have a feeling already towards Islam from early on that it is correct. It does make sense. There is. I appreciate the haya and the humbleness of Islam.
Yeah.
So there was that early on, and then obviously when you investigate more and you do more research and you start to really have a deep appreciation. But the thing is, it's all self-taught. There was no one to teach you. Your parents are.
So what drove you to learn then? Like, I'd imagine a young guy living in Ireland. There's no real religious restriction, so. Girls, drugs, alcohol, parties. The life is accessible to you, right?
Yeah.
And then Islam is like choosing restriction.
Yeah. Now that's why his story is like more admirable than my one, because like
now you're making me more interested in your story.
No. From my one is like, let's say for example, I didn't have boarding school,
right?
And like, let's say for example, I don't know how old you were before you got your first Muslim friend.
That's a very good question.
Like. Whereas for me, like we're talking about like
he must be really offended.
College, bro.
Yeah.
18, I think. Yeah, 16. And they weren't good influences, by the way.
Yeah, but
really?
No way, because they were just as lost as I was. So they don't know anything about Islam. I mean, they probably do, but for them, it's just like,
that didn't come with the friendship.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. But now, if we were to like, they're very strong. They went on the same journey as me.
That's really cool that Allah puts people on these journeys in the most unlikely places.
Yeah. So like for his one, that's whenever like even that's that question alone, I was like, I can't compare it with his one. His one was like a different journey altogether. Like it's like self, like on his own, trying to like it's kind of like reverting in a way. Like he's just going on that journey on his own.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I grew up with a lot of like Muslims from a young age.
I see.
Here we had we have a mosque here where we get to go every Saturday and Sunday. We'd learn Qur'an. So like from that, like 7 years old, I was already immersed with kind of like my own people, like, with Muslims. So like I had like Monday to Friday where I was like the only person. And then when I go Saturday, Sunday, I'm like, oh, whoa, like, okay, now I'm back so I don't feel out of place on weekends because I go into school.
You feel like it's your own people.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I go in on, Monday to Saturday and Sunday to like Qur'an school, from that 9 to 4, when I'm in that school, I feel like this is my own language, the same language I hear at home.
Yeah.
The same like thought process as at home.
Right.
I hear
so
the
there's
words,
a familiarity.
Yeah, like even hearing the words haram, halal in school was like I felt like that presence, like, oh, okay, I belong here.
I have a curious question for you. Like, so I've been to other European countries, and one of the running themes in several European countries, with very few, maybe just one exception so far that I've seen, is that unlike America,
right,
when you go to the public school system in America, or you're part of the American society, it doesn't matter if you were Buddhist, Chinese Buddhist, or from Singapore, or you're Hindu, or you're Muslim, or you're Christian, or whatever denomination of Christian. Well, you're just American. Like it's not like you don't. The word European seems to come with an ethnic connection, a genetic connection, as opposed to a national connection, as opposed to the word American, which is it's a national term.
Yeah,
it's not a racial term.
Yeah.
Right. And so, a lot of times I've heard, I was in a country where people told me they're third generation in that country, and the locals tell them, well, you're not from us, even though you were born here, you have a passport, you're a citizen, you're still not, let's say, German, and you're actually not, so is that, and I have a sense that the Irish are different when it comes to this, but I want to know from you guys.
I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither. No,
Like,
I think we had the same.
Yeah. Do you want to?
So you don't really feel like you're Irish, or you're not let to feel like you're.
No, like
Irish.
with Ireland, I love Ireland.
Yeah.
I do have a sense of
connection
to Ireland, no doubt. Like I am appreciative of, like, I was brought up here. I was taught by the Irish. I, had Irish friends, good friends,
Yeah.
So there isn't this, I do
This
appreciate
like separation kind
Yeah,
of.
there is a separation, but it's not like the separation comes because uh, I will be viewed no matter what as an outsider to an extent because I don't drink. I don't.
There's some parts of the culture that Islam just doesn't let
You
you
just
do.
cannot,
Right.
if I, it's just a bit, there is a cultural barrier there still, and
Right.
you're gonna have that if you choose to be Muslim.
And
Like
if you choose not to be, if you're
if you choose not to be, you can assimilate more. I think you can become more.
you can feel more like you belong.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, but
طوبى للغرباء, huh?
Yeah. So that it's an actual thing though.
would
So
you agree with that?
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
congratulations to the straight. You have to
Yeah.
you have to accept some level of strangeness
Mhm.
Yeah.
to hold on to your religion. You know what's
Yeah.
funny about this? Your life experience is one of living as a minority.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of ethnicity and also in terms of religion and worldview, right? And what's really ironic is that when you travel to many, many Muslim countries, Muslims that are trying to hold on to their values
Yeah.
at university campus and the workplace, in the corporate workplace, a Muslim that decides in many places in Pakistan, for example, a girl starts wearing hijab, she is a bigger target and audience or object of ridicule
Yeah.
than she would have been if she was going to college in America.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's actually insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just by her peers, but even her own family, like
Yeah.
all around. And then if there are Muslim countries where prestigious universities where the young man, when he starts praying, if his
Yeah.
friends find out that he's praying, he
Yeah,
actually he hides from his other Muslim
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
to pray.
Yeah.
And if that same young man was, let's say, in Ireland, and he was with his boys, and those boys were like, "Hey, yo, isn't it, Ibrahim? Isn't it time for you to pray?"
Yeah.
And yeah, and he'll go pray, and they'll say he's not like us, but we respect that he does that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's this really strange thing that has happened that people that are trying to hold on to Islam, you might get the perception maybe it would have been easier if I was in a Muslim country.
Yeah.
It's actually not the case.
I used to think that, but then I realized it's actually very difficult.
Still
Even in
think
the
that,
Muslim countries,
yeah.
your family start calling you, Molvi Saba again.
Right,
Like,
They call you an extremist, basically.
yeah. They get a bit scared of it, and I don't know where that comes from. To be honest, I never really delved deeper into it, but there is a bit of fear factor in Pakistan anyway. I don't know about Algeria, but that maybe the kid is becoming too religious, and sometimes they motivate you to do other things rather than concentrate on the religion, which I think is a bit backwards.
So in our countries, I think it's a complicated situation.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that happens is because there is, in fact, a lot of extremism associated with Islam in the Muslim world. And people are taken to very extreme paths where they give up very normal parts of life that the religion did not condemn, but cultish variations of our religion condemn them.
Yeah.
And then parents have seen the rise of many cults in that society. So when they see you going even one step towards Islam, they think, oh, step 2 is going to be he or she's going to be in a cult.
Yeah.
And they're just going to cut us off and all of that, right? So they get paranoid and really extreme.
Yeah.
So they're, we think that, oh, non-Muslims have this paranoia about Islam or Islamophobia. Actually, the generation before us, if they were raised in kind of a middle-class, normal-ish family, relatively conservative family, they also have a degree of Islamophobia.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I think it's justifiable. It's understandable why they have that.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I started praying, my parents freaked out, actually, and they were kind of like, "You're going a little too fast. You're going too far. Why do you have to have a beard?" and all that kind of stuff, right? And then as a fired up youth, you're like, they're just trying to get in the way of my Islam. This is fitna, and and you get a little older, you realize actually their fears were legitimate in many senses, because as I was learning about Islam, an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, just say, I want to just learn more about Islam. Anybody who knows more than you becomes a source of knowledge.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some people that know more than you are pretty psychotic.
Yeah.
And you're going to buy into some psychotic variety that you think is authentic Islam, and you're going to end up ruining your life and the lives of people you love, right?
Yeah.
So that is a very real fear. So it's interesting that you guys bring that up, that, there was that fear.
Yeah. But the question is like, if, for example, I know there's a fear there,
Yeah.
but let's suppose now you're in a country where there's not a lot of Islam in this country. Like the early generations of Muslim that came here, somebody needs to teach the kids.
Correct.
Somebody has to. Now, if you teach the child and you're fearful that maybe he might develop a deeper curiosity for the religion, and you're like, you know what, instead of me getting him to become more curious about the religion, I'm going to try and get him to become more educated in something else.
Right.
So
let's put a limit on how much Islam you need to have in your life.
Exactly.
Okay. Prayer, fine. Ramadan, okay.
Yeah.
But you're trying to take a class?
Yeah.
You're gonna halak. Wait, hold on, chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
This is too much.
That's where the problems, I think, are coming from.
Yeah.
Because of that fear factor that's there.
Yeah.
It's becoming a barrier for the younger generations to get, past.
That's also part of their programming. I feel like our parents' generation, they were taught essentially that the Qur'an is for you to get blessings.
Yeah.
And prayer is for you to essentially have some good come your way in life or solve some of your problems. So Islam is essentially prescriptions for your life's problems. It's not nutrition.
Yeah.
It's prescriptions.
Yeah.
And because that's the case, you shouldn't be the one learning more about Islam. That's the job of the imam, the scholar, the sheikh, and those guys are way too extreme anyway. We wouldn't want to be like them. We don't actually look up to these people. They couldn't, in a sense, in the culture, at least in my culture, it was those people couldn't get a real job. That's why they have that job.
Yeah.
So I sure as hell don't want my kids going down that path.
I've been talking to my dad like
Right. So if you're getting interested in Islam, that just means you're going to be a loser in life.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to know much about anything else.
You're either going to be a loser or you're going to be a rebellious figure from your parents, because your parents, if they're, telling you to,
I try to look at both sides of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, for someone who I've spent many years talking about the deen, studying the deen, but I try to look at things from the other's perspective, right? And I do see a problem. I see a problem of like, if young men look at the person giving the talk and say, I want to grow up to be that. Personally, I see a problem with that. The reason I see a problem with that, people that are supposed to be educated in their religion and articulate their faith, shouldn't think of that as a career path so much as they should think of that as something that adds quality to their life. Like a programmer, an entrepreneur, an engineer, a medical professional should all be knowledgeable enough that they can articulate themselves and confidently represent their faith. Yes, some of them can go on to become scholars, but even our real scholars in our history were polymath. Like scholars used to be mathematicians at the same time, engineers at the same time, medical professionals at the same time, right? It wasn't just, they just do Islam and they don't do anything else with their life. Yes, some people can be specialized, highly, highly specialized. But when I hear youth be like, I want to just serve the ummah. How are you going to serve the ummah? I would just serve the youth. How are you going to serve I'm going to give lectures.
Yeah.
Why are they looking up to you? Like, what aspiration have you given? Like, what other parts of your life have you accomplished something in that they can say, man, they've got the best of deen and they applied the best of deen to every aspect of their dunya too.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, then it sounds like if you're going to take your religion seriously, you have to not take your career seriously because that's dunya.
Yeah.
You have to not, give a good life to your family because that's dunya, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And then you can get extremes like, this is why I don't, go on any outing with my family, or I don't do anything with my friends, and because that's all dunya.
Yeah,
bro. Like, what did Allah put you in Jannah already? Or like He put you in dunya, right? Like you have to deal with this world and engage with this world. So that is the flip side of that equation. And I do think religion, our deen needs to be taught, but taught in a way that, like, it fuses with life.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking about this like just 2 days ago. I was with my friends in DC, and I was talking to them about like the masjid model. It was interesting. There was a Catholic church in Washington, D.C. It was basically losing money. People weren't coming anymore, right? People are losing interest in religion, right? So they can't keep asking for funding because they're not going to get it. So what they did was, because they're in a prime area in Washington, D.C., they built luxury apartments on top of the church
Right. Okay.
and just rent them out. And all the rent now is coming into
Church.
the church. And now they don't have to, they figured out another way of creating. And actually, the church started getting more attendance because people are living. They're like, might as well check out what's going on.
Yeah.
But actually, this is a very Islamic concept. And what I mean by that is the masjid, let's say the masjid is like, 6 miles out of the way or 10 kilometers out of the way, right? And you live here and you got to go 20-minute drive to get to the masjid. Then you're going to pray. Then you're going to come back. So you have to leave the rest of life to go to the masjid. But actually, the masjid was in the middle of the marketplace. It was in the middle of the university. It was in the middle of the office space. So it wasn't separating you from life. It was fused into life. And that's what Islam kind of is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fused in with life.
Yeah. Like, I don't know for you, Anis, but like I remember when we started, when we were in college, a lot of our relations started off with Islam. I think a lot of what we tried to become, the positive characteristics of a good Muslim in Islam, we tried to adopt. And I think that became a character building exercise for us. So when we did decide to open up a business, we were of similar character. And I think that's where for us, I think the religion fused with our dunya to give us.
Bro, you're on a popular street in Dublin, and you're serving Western food, halal Western food, burgers and brisket and whatever else you serve, and then you're not serving alcohol in Dublin. That's like almost haram. Right. First time I came to Dublin, I got in a cab. He goes, "Which pub first?" And that's what he asked me. I was like, "Not a pub, not a pub."
Not just that, but halal food as well. To get the food, the meat is a chore. It's so easy to get haram meat. We can go down the road to a butcher, but to travel to a different county sometimes to get meat that is halal, so we can serve to everybody.
Allah reward you, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's so incredible.
It was like for us when we kicked off the Lozo, it was actually primarily a fine restaurant, like nighttime dinner, fine dining like vibe that we wanted, like steaks and 3-course meal and things like that. So when we opened up, there was so much buzz and hype in Dublin about it, because like, the first halal steak. We can never get steak in Ireland. It's the first place, let's go. And we were like packed out 2 days, packed out. Like we're talking packed out. Couldn't even know how to handle it.
Didn't know how to handle it. Yeah.
And then the third day came and it was just like 2 tables. Fourth day, 1 table. I think the week after that, we'd open and close with no sales. Not a single person would come in.
Yeah.
And then we broke like crazy. So we started getting now like Irish customers coming in. And they'd come in with like 6-7 people, again on a Friday, big group. And they'd come in through the door and they're like, "Oh, we seen your Instagram. The food looks unbelievable. We can't wait to try it." Yeah, come on. Like, where's the wine list?
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, there's no wine."
Do you remember the first customer that asked us about the wine?
No.
She walked in, it was a couple. They came out late night, around 9 o'clock. Do you remember?
No.
And they sat down and they're like, where's do you sell wine? And I was looking at the waitress at the time. I'm like, we need to know now how the people react. And the waitress was like, "No, we don't serve any wine." And they got up and left. And I was thinking, is this going to be really that difficult? Like, because we were worried now that whether or not wine actually or alcohol, how much of an impact this is going to have on us,
Correct. Yeah. It's like water here, bro.
Yeah. And then Ennis started to introduce the non-alcoholic wine.
Yeah.
And I remember what was funny about it. He the shape of the bottle made us like, we're like, "No, we're not going to do it."
Because it
looks so bad.
He's like, "It looks haram, we're not doing it." And then we stopped doing it. And we started opening breakfast and lunch just to get more out of the business. And then we do closed dinners.
Yeah.
And the closed dinners, it's the highest level of cuisine, ribeye steaks, sirloin. We have a very creative chef that can, like, he feels that he's the best chef in the world. So we use that as our, to our advantage, Okay, make us this, make us that, fuse Indian and Italian, do something new, And Ennis.
Interesting.
This is where Ennis gets the most out of himself for his Instagram page,
So, but even that one, like, they'd negotiate with you because they really want to have the food. So they'd be like, "Okay, look, there's an off license down the road. How I get my own one. I'll just get my own bottle. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, I can't. And you're literally pleading with them because they really want to have it.
I'm curious. You know, there are Christian, devout Christian
Yeah.
communities that speak out against the consumption of alcohol
Yeah.
and talk about how that's a biblical imperative.
Yeah.
I actually got a friend for that story.
Tell me.
So when I was in uni, when me and him, I met him towards like the middle of college when we were in our course. But when I started with a guy from Ecuador.
Mm.
He was the most devout Christian I've ever met in my life. And to the point where I became a better Muslim because of him.
Because of him.
And I remember we would talk once, we were in college, we'd talk, and he carried his Bible with him everywhere. Like it was like a fabric Bible. He had it covered in a fabric. And I'd ask him, I'm like, oh, why did you carry that? And he goes, it brings me luck. And he reads it every single morning before class.
Wow.
Before class. And we used to take the bus to go town to go home. The whole bus journey, he'll tell you before we go, he goes, look, I'm not being rude, but this bus ride is like how I talk. Yeah, like how I talk with God. I'd sit there and I'm like, I'm Muslim, like, you know, and it'd make you feel like, I remember it hurt me so bad because I was like, you know, and I remember once he asked me about like, you know, not drinking, why don't you drink and stuff like that? Or why don't I have a girlfriend? And I tell him, oh, my religion doesn't allow me. I remember once I told him I don't have a girlfriend because my religion, like, you know, it doesn't allow me. He started crying. And he goes, my religion says the same, but I still have one. He's like, it hurts me to admit it, you know?
Wow.
And I remember the way he was so committed with his own religion. Like, I remember I started taking my religion serious.
Yeah,
so like, because of him. So believe it or not, I learned more about my religion, not from a sheikh, Instagram, YouTube. It was actually from a Christian guy my age that got me more serious with my own religion.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I started taking my religion a bit more serious just because I was like, that's insane. You know, we're the same age. You know, he never ate pork. He took it serious when there was a party going on.
Yeah, Allah talks about that. Allah talks about people that commit to their Bible, and when they hear the ayat of Allah, even if you hear a small snippet of you staying away from something haram because of the ayat of Allah, Allah says you'll see their eyes roll with tears.
Yeah.
Right? ترى أعينهم تفيض من الدمع.
I swear to God, he cried. He actually cried.
Allah makes that statement of his, people relive that all the time, you know, and that's one of the things that this even feels to me like a massive opportunity to educate the community about their own, forget Islamic tradition, their own tradition.
Yeah.
Because I do believe the Irish people are actually deeply faithful people. Like they have the drinking and all that part of the culture, but Christianity has also been a big part of the education and the heritage. I don't know if the young generation is probably much less.
Yeah, I think that's more true of the older generation.
The older one, yeah. Like he was my age. I pray for him till today. You know that. I went to visit him. He's having a baby soon, so I went to visit him. He moved to Spain, and I go every chance I get. Like to
That's awesome.
He's a very very good friend. I always tell him. I always pray for him. Then inshallah he gets becomes Muslim.
So you're both married?
Yes.
Yeah.
You told me baby on the way, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah. What about yourself?
I'm just married.
That's okay. Nobody's perfect.
For now, that's a lot.
I love that. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, you see, marriage as well is a very difficult when you're running a business that you're just starting up.
Yeah.
And then you're balancing the marriage, and especially like people who are just married. And like, because we opened up the business, I opened up the business with you as soon as I got married. So like,
Yeesh.
Yeah, it was very difficult. So, and I was broke as well. Do you remember the roof is leaking, the toilet's not working, you know, there's dampness in the room, mold, and then on top of that,
but she's like, I'm living the life of it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's still, you know, the thing is, you know, when you're able to, you know, comfort the girl, make her laugh, you know, and, you know, she still feels appreciated, you know. So as long as your relationship is good, I feel like a person can go through any type of struggle, you know. And that's the thing. You know, a lot of people couldn't have pulled off what you know, what I did. Alhamdulillah, I pulled it off somehow.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Allah help you. Allah protect your marriage and keep you guys
Yeah.
happy with each
Ameen.
other, and both of you, inshallah.
Yeah.
What do you think right now are your biggest challenges? Business, life, anything?
No, I'd say he'd have the challenge. My challenge isn't there yet, but I'd say a kid changes the game.
I don't know. I don't look at these as challenges, to be honest. I feel like I can get through anything in life. That's how I've developed my mindset. Every single challenge is one to be conquered. That's how I look at it.
Good. It's a good mindset.
Yeah. So
It gets you into entrepreneurship, isn't it?
yeah,
It was just a series of endless challenges.
yeah. So it's like, you know, it's just endless puzzles. It's
Can't
not-
get worse.
Yeah. No, we've been.
You know, I feel like at this point it can't get worse. I mean, what's
Yeah.
the worst that can happen now?
Well, what's gonna happen? Yeah, exactly.
So we had like what, a short window of like what, 4 or 5 years where like everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like full on Murphy's Law in the same span of like 5 years.
Nah.
And after that, like now things are starting to turn up.
But you see, that's what helped us, you know. And you know, the thing is, you know, the tawakkul that we had,
Yeah.
the strength, because we can't be defeated. That's how we think about it. There's no problem that can come to us, and we feel overburdened by, because we have such a strong trust that whatever is going to happen in our life is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is no such thing as failure. If this doesn't work out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want it to work
You've
out.
been reminding me of ayat after ayat.
Yeah.
Is in Surah At-Tawbah, the Muslims were about to take on the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, forget apples to oranges. This is apples to watermelons, right? They're an army of hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And they're the largest empire to date in history. And now the Muslims are they're a little tiny little area of Arabia,
Yeah.
and they're about to take on the world's massive superpower, right? With literally centuries of military experience. And the hypocrites among the Muslims were like, you're going to get yourselves killed. This is a suicide mission.
Yeah.
How are you even thinking of this? And one phrase in the ayah in Surah At-Tawbah is هل تربصون بنا إلا إحدى الحسنيين. Are you holding back and not joining us because we're going to end up in one of two most beautiful scenarios? Like that's what they call.
Yeah.
There's only two possibilities, and they're both really beautiful. Either
Yeah.
we're going to die, and we're going to die serving God.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Or Allah will give us victory,
Yeah.
which is also really beautiful.
Yeah.
So those are the two possibilities you're worried about. Like
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
that's a winner mindset, isn't it? Like they're seeing their purpose in life in that light.
Yeah.
You know, challenges, difficulties. They're just something beautiful.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And that's the same thing with us. Like when you go out for business, anybody who feels like we're gonna fail at something, we look at them as people with a problem. Like if suppose, like for example, when we started this business, I remember your family as well. They were like, "Listen, bro, this is not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. You know, just do a job. It's much safer. Business is a risky thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for us, it was those people that had a problem with tawakkul. We don't have a problem. Whether it works out or not, it's in Allah's hands. You know, my dad used to say there's three things for anybody to become successful: have good niyyah, work hard, and pray, make dua. You know, you live by those three things, and you have strong character, and you know you don't get into the negative of what people say. You can accomplish anything. We had family members.
That's the hardest one, isn't it?
They're family members. You're spending too many hours in the business. And then again, Anis is from a different culture. I'm from a different culture.
Right.
And they're like, you know, and sometimes some people, they're like, you know,
these Pakistanis.
these Pakistanis,
Watch out,
Algerians,
all these Arabs.
Yeah. Arabs say, you know,
Yeah.
So, you know, but because we were of strong character, I believe that we are, by the way, I'm not saying, but and the reason why I say that I think we are is because we stood the test of time. You know, we've been through all the hardships. We've had people, you know, I remember there were people camping outside our restaurant to see whether or not we were being successful. Do you remember those days? You know, we've had people have, you know, with binoculars, like looking, you know, but because we had such a strong connection with Allah, because we had a deep-rooted relationship that's based off Islamic principles, I felt like we've succeeded, even if we.
When did you
fail.
guys meet each other?
What, 10 years
10
ago?
years ago.
College days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
college days. Yeah.
I don't know, something about the college days, man.
Because it's like
The
a
friends you
thing.
make in college?
Yeah, it's the discovery. Like you're still trying to know yourself,
You're
and you're
growing.
yeah. So like you found yourself in college, and then as you found yourself, you found someone else trying to find himself as well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then like you just get on the same boat, the same journey.
We were
Like,
completely different. before
Yeah,
we met.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Completely
like,
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were not like this.
Yeah.
I was very shy. He was very talkative.
And now I'm shy and he's talking.
We rubbed off on each other.
But the cool thing is, like, even if you want a businesswoman, I feel like the only reason this whole thing even still working now is like we had good camaraderie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'd go and I'd close my eyes. I'm like, you know, I trust them with everything, my family, my bank, my money, anything. And it's the same the other way around.
Yeah.
When you have that kind
That's
of
a
level,
beautiful thing to have,
yeah,
man.
yeah, and you can't put
And
a
as you get older, you realize that's the most precious thing you can have in life.
Yeah, and it's not like you even have blood between us. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's from like Asia, I'm from Africa. Like,
Yeah.
it's like totally different continents. But I feel like since we have the
Unity
one,
of Islam, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the only-
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
that's the only denominator, the common denominator between us. And it, like, listen, look, this is the religion. This is what you have to be with each other, and that's it. So whenever like I don't think about it. I just think like, oh, if I was gonna do something, like, everybody's watching me. You know, I can't do that. You know, it's like, oh, he trusts me. I can't break that trust. But if I had this on my own, or if he had this on his own, I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are now.
Yeah.
So it's,
100%.
yeah, so it's like obviously we have the third partner in this whole relationship, and that was Allah. So it's like us two and then Allah. So it was a good deal. It was a good business plan.
Yeah.
Allah give it more and more
Inshallah.
success. Put barakah in your rizq.
Inshallah, inshallah.
I pray that Allah takes the barakah from this rizq and brings it into your entire family's lives, into your children's lives.
Inshallah.
You know, and makes this a sadaqah jariyah for generations to come. My dua for this place is that you know, as the years go by, this becomes a franchise, and there's like
Yeah.
lozas all over.
Soon we're coming to DC soon.
Yeah. Inshallah.
No.
Very nice talking to you guys. And such a great experience coming here.
No, thank you for coming. It's an absolute honor to have you.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum.